think of where we are today. If people don't really even know the skills they have or the skills they need, just having a simple baseline with some target skills brings us so much further than we ever have been before.
Kelly Palmer, welcome to my show. How are you?
I'm great, Michael. Thanks so much for inviting me today.
I'm honored to have the former VP of Learning of Yahoo and the Chief Learning Officer of LinkedIn, and in general, a world expert on this art of learning, upskilling, but not just, in a college academic environment or in school, but, in the workforce, in a place where we are assumed to have already harnessed our skills coming in and just act upon them, but you're actually saying, no, we actually need to adapt because now we have to upskill our employees. So I can't wait to hear more about that. Kelly, can you go back and tell me how you even get started with thinking about upskilling as, a main theme for your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been in Silicon Valley my whole career and started off in engineering, actually product development, and moved into corporate strategy, and then realized kind of mid-career that I really wanted to do something more meaningful and impactful for me personally. And that's when I made the transition into learning with really a focus on this intersection between learning and technology, and as that's evolved, now the future of work. So my journey led me. I actually moved when I was at Sun Microsystems. Moved from an executive position in corporate strategy into an executive position in learning, which was a great opportunity. And then when Oracle bought Sun, I moved to Yahoo, and then LinkedIn recruited me. And while I was at LinkedIn, that was an amazing opportunity to start a learning organization from the ground up. But also, I had a small development team where we were actually building a learning platform, very much like Degreed in its early stages, but just for internal employees. And in 2016, I joined Degreed because I really wanted to have an impact on the industry, not just for one employee population. And I would say the learning and ed tech area is even more important now than when I first entered the field. It's booming, it's changing, it's driving so much of what businesses feel is important today. And that's what led me to the upskilling journey, which is what people are talking about a lot today.
So can you, go 30,000 feet in the air with me and then share with me a little bit about this idea of learning in the workplace? Because until I actually spoke with, the CEO of Learning, I didn't really understand that there's this whole, theme of, working with employees to empower them and help them and upskill them. So what is it and why do we need it?
Yeah, I think you have to go back to. I mean, you made a comment earlier when people traditionally graduated from university, they felt like they had the knowledge that they needed to take them through the entirety of their careers. And we've seen huge shifts in the way the workforce and the world is evolving right now. So you've got acceleration, which is how fast things are moving. You've got automation, you've got AI, you've got all of these things converging at once, and we often call that the fourth industrial revolution. So the reality of that in the workplace is that the old model of corporate learning was saying, we're just going to model what people were doing in university. So we're going to design and develop some classroom-based, lecture-based learning where we're actually just giving people knowledge and helping them kind of progress in their career. But it wasn't a huge focus. In fact, a lot of times it was only focused on managers and leaders or maybe high potential employees. But we got to the point where we realized everybody needs to be building skills continuously throughout the entirety of their careers. And that's what upskilling is fundamentally about. And we know that, jobs are changing, careers are changing, and it's no longer this, you spend your whole career at one company. You probably will. I think the stat is that for millennials, they'll have 15 jobs in their lifetime, and oftentimes not even in the same field. I know that's been
Wow.
my experience, and it's probably many people's experience. So how do you keep learning? How do you keep thinking about keeping your skills sharp and building new skills? And that's upskilling, but it's really there's also reskilling. People ask, well, what's the difference between reskilling and upskilling? If you want to move into a completely different area, you need to understand, what skills are required to be successful in that area. If you're in a field like learning or talent, it was 5 years ago, you didn't need to know about AI and machine learning or big data and all of that. You do now. You cannot be successful running corporate learning or talent in a company without understanding those things. So what do? You have to upskill or reskill yourself, and take it on yourself to do that.
Amazing. And so why is that? Why is that difficult? Why is it difficult for corporates to, upskill their workers and provide them opportunities to build upon what they thought they know or what they know they don't know?
Right. I think one of the things that we've learned, and I published a book with my co-author David Blake called "The Expertise Economy." It's been about 2 years now, and one of the things that we realized is that companies and people themselves don't really think about what they're doing in their jobs in relation to the skills that they have. Even people coming out of college, they'll talk about what degree they have, but how does that translate into what skills they have and
Right.
what can they actually do? So the fundamental problem that most companies have is that they don't understand the skills people have today or the skills that people need in the future. And so, part of the whole value proposition behind Degreed is to say, let us help you through data understand what skills people have and what skills they need so that we know how to focus. It's this direction away from this one-size-fits-all learning that we know doesn't work, the lecture-based learning that doesn't work. We need to move to more personalized learning based on what people already know and what they need to know. The other thing I would say about that is that a lot of companies in the past were really focused on top down. We're going to decide what everybody needs to learn.
Right.
Well, it's not a very good strategy, right? And so now it's flipped to say, we have this data, and really you as an individual I should know what skills do I have, and if I'm thinking about my career aspirations, what should I be thinking about in terms of what skills I need to build in order to stay competitive in the market. So companies need to understand it to stay competitive, and individuals need to understand it to stay competitive as well.
So I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a CEO or a manager in a leadership role in a big company, and I'm trying to think. So I buy into this idea that I want to upskill my employees. It'll improve retention. It'll improve their their ability to move around within the company, understanding that people want to transition and learn different skill sets, and that's part of the problem of the churn that we have. But now I'm thinking, okay, well, how do I actually go about and do this? I'm potentially having 100 people. Every person needs to be upskilled in a different way. What resources do I have to be able to execute on this mission?
Right. So the approach we're taking is really saying, you can start with the employees you have. I would say in the old model of work, it used to be when a company wanted to go after a new market opportunity, they would decide what that market opportunity was and what kind of talent they would need to actually pursue that. Talent, we know in the industry, is getting harder and harder to get because everybody's competing for the same talent. Companies that used to consider themselves financial companies are now considering themselves tech companies, and everybody wants data scientists, right? So it's not as if you can just go and readily get all the top data scientists that you want, because you're competing with companies, the biggest companies in the world, Amazon and Google, and all those companies. So what do you do? So the strategy is really to say, how can I help? Hopefully you've hired some really smart people into your company that can learn new skills instead of just, figuring out a hiring strategy. What about and I think it's a hybrid strategy, right? It's like, yes, you can still hire external people, but I don't think you can depend on that completely. How about if we take people inside of our company, find out who's got, the desire and some of the basic skills to move in that direction, and then let's have initiatives around company-wide initiatives around that. I'd say Booz Allen Hamilton is a great example where data science was the example where they said, you know what, we have clients that are asking us for data scientists every day, and we don't have enough today to fill that need. So imagine 3 years from now. And so they actually put together a data science 5K program where they said, look, we're going to try to develop our own talent in these skills. And I think that that's a great way to start. But you can't do that unless you know, again, what skills people have and what skills they need. That's the starting point.
And how do you actually gauge that in a systematic way? I'm guessing that if you part of the issue that you'll reach is saying, okay, well, so I know that I want to empower my employees and upskill them, but they may not know what it is they're interested in, and I for sure don't know for them. And I have a lot of these employees. So how do you systematically then work on giving a personalized experience to each one?
So that's a great question. And in fact, a few months ago, I just wrote a white paper called 7 Steps for Upskilling Your Workforce. And one of the things that we recommend is that you really start with working with the business leaders in the company to identify what are those key critical skills that we think we're going to need in the future. So you can take it from two angles. If you're looking at it from a business perspective, you're going to say, I want to give my employees guidance. These are the top skills. In fact, I worked pretty extensively with the leaders at Cisco and at Unilever to run this process and to say, what skills do we think we're going to need in the future? And then let's get our employees, and we have this, there's various ways that you can measure skills for employees. In Degreed, we have a way that you can actually measure people's skills based on the Lumina Foundation, but there's lots of other skills, right? There's signals from Credly on badges. There's your actual degrees that you got from school. There's other credentials. Stanford has a bunch of certificate programs for that. I mean, there's a variety of signals that you can get about what skills people have and where they are there. Once you ask people to assess themselves based on the skills that are most important for the company and for the individual. So say you identify 5 critical skills for the company moving forward. Maybe the individual, based on their career goals, wants to focus on 2 of those 5. And then they assess their skills based on that, figure out where they're at. And then we also have a target range for certain opportunities. So they say, oh, great, I need to build my skills in this particular area. And then they can get learning a variety of learning in order to gain those skills. And then they can reassess and see how they're making progress. And I think one of the most important things is data and insights around how people are learning and building skills so that you can show the progress, and it's so important to get that baseline of where people start so that then you can it sounds so simple, right? So then you can then, compare it against when they learn some things, are they making progress? And once you've done that, you can get, both the individual can see these are the skills I'm focusing on. This is the progress I'm making. And then from a business level, from a group level, you can say, oh, this is how we're progressing. So given the example, for Booz Allen, that, if their goal was 5,000 people upskilled in data science, how are they doing? How can they measure that? That's how they're doing it. So it's really about data, analytics, insights, and then measuring that at both the individual level and at the group and company level. So you have, that view at all 3 levels.
So first of all, it sounds, amazing and it sounds incredibly complicated at the same time. Because a lot of these
Yeah.
things are, a lot of these things are subjective. Some of them are objective, but then also when you measure, it tends, the comparisons are getting interesting. And I think that at the end, there's different motivations, obviously, for upskilling. But at the core of it, I think from what I hear from you, it is beneficial for a company like Booz and Allen to say, okay, we need more data scientists. I'm sure that also obviously the newly educated data scientists are very happy with it, and obviously it has a big butterfly effect on the churn, on the engagement, on the trust that is being built. What has been the most challenging piece of the integration that you've observed? Patterns that you're seeing across the different organizations that you've worked with.
So I think one of the things is, and you mentioned it just a moment ago, that it seems complicated and complex, but it doesn't have to be, right? I mean, I think that where people get bogged down is when they try to say, look, we want to identify every skill that every person might have and then have people assess against all of those skills. And, it becomes overwhelming. It's kind of, if you look at the old competency models in HR that, become so overwhelming that those projects never, for anybody who's been involved in any of those projects, they're outdated before you even finish them. So that's what you have to resist at a company is trying to take too much on. So in the guide, what we recommend is for individuals, really focus on one skill. And for companies, only identify 3 to 5 skills that are going to be really important. So you have some sort of focus so people don't feel overwhelmed. Because think about how many skills can you realistically focus on at any given time, right? So I think simplicity is key, and that you can make it very complex and complicated, but if you resist that and make it very simple and just start, because think of where we are today. If people don't really even know the skills they have or the skills they need, just having a simple baseline with some target skills brings us so much further than we ever have been before. And then we can build and evolve on that.
I love that. Kelly, why are you spending your career on this? What is it about upskilling and learning that really gets you excited?
Well, it's a great question, and I think one of the things is that I've been, as I mentioned at the beginning of this of our discussion, is that I've been in Silicon Valley my whole career, and I was shocked when I got into the learning field that things were so antiquated, and that we couldn't figure out how to use everything that we have available to us in order to make this better and simple and to change people's mindsets. That's been one of the biggest challenges, and what I've been spending. That's why we wrote the book. That's why I'm on the road, well, virtually now, but speaking to people about these, the future of work and how we should be reimagining work and how we do things. It's not a small thing, but we're changing the industry, right? By evolving how people think about learning and work and getting new opportunities. I think the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, but the other part of this whole upskilling journey is really to help people get opportunities, right? Because at the end of the day, if people want to figure out how they can get a new opportunity, if you can tie what people are learning to the skills they're building, then show them opportunities that might be available to them based on the skills that they have. To me, that's nirvana. That's what most people, individuals want, and I think companies want. And so it's that talent marketplace based on skills as the currency of the future of work. That's, I think, where everything is headed. And so I'm spending my career on it because I think it's incredibly important, and I think it's making a difference in the world.
I love it. I really, really love it, and I think that the mission is wonderful, and I think that obviously the impact that you've had on the different organizations is amazing, and I especially love you understanding that you're solving it internally for some organizations, but really this is an industry-wide phenomenon that needs to be needs to be resolved, and there aren't enough people that are doing it. So you pick up the glove and you go and do it, and you make that impact, industry wide, and obviously not only just advising companies, but also helping VC fund invest in companies that are working on the future of work. And so really, it's a whole new vertical that is just really, I've only heard about this idea of future of work, and really in the past year or two from my end. So I think it is very new, and I think it's very, very exciting. Thank you for being so generous with your time. And the last question, the most important one, thank you. The most important one that I have is 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Passionate, driven, and impactful.
I love it. Kelly, thank you very, very much. Stay safe and stay healthy, and continue making a positive impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.